So many of God's people have a desire to enter into that place of love affair that the Lord originally intended from the day that we were created. And many of us, when we've come to the Lord, at the initial portion of our salvation experience, is that we felt the love, we felt the fervor, we felt the fire and the passion after Him. And then when we were disappointed, something happened. We stopped trusting Him. As a result, the love began to wane. And we begin to fall into the category of the book of Revelations where Jesus declared into one of the churches, He says, you have lost your first love. You don't love me like you did from the beginning. And so sometimes, I would say probably 100% of the time, if not 98% of the time, all of us lose our first love. We don't love Him the way we did originally. Something happens. We trusted God, albeit presumptuously. We didn't understand how the kingdom worked, neither how He works His kingdom. So when it didn't work out the way we were believing or trusting, it devastated our faith, and with it, our love. So when we came back to Him, our hearts weren't quite as open as before. It reminds me of the example of somebody that sits on a chair. The chair falls, and he falls with such force that he breaks a limb. So then, after he's restored and he's fully healed, he goes back in the room and discovers the same chair is there, the exact same chair. The person says it's fixed, and he sits on the chair, but now he's a bit skittish. He doesn't just flop on it anymore. He doesn't just jump on it with all his weight. He eases onto it so that it gives the chair a chance to prove that he can handle his weight. And that's the way we've approached the Lord, because we've looked and trusted Him presumptuously based on our own ways and our own thoughts, but not understanding that His ways are higher than our ways, that His thoughts are higher than our thoughts. And so we believed Him. We had our faith in Him, placed our faith in Him, albeit presumptuously, and the chair collapsed. And we were hurt. We were injured in the process. In many cases, very badly. And so when our faith collapses, how many know your love collapses with it? Your heart is not as open. You're not as vulnerable. You don't give all without a second thought anymore. Now you're giving second thoughts. Now you're looking before you leap. Now you're watching. And so you still may, in fact, be operating in faith, but not the wholehearted, sold out, give yourself over, all or nothing faith as you did in the early part of your walk. So when your faith fell, so did your love. And so God is wanting to recover that, because all of our falls have been due to presumption, not understanding how the kingdom of God operates. And so what God would have us to do is He wants to reclaim that ground. He wants us to love Him with that first love. He wants us to give ourselves to Him as we did originally at the beginning of our salvation. He wants that love to grow, but to understand that just because we've had faith failures, it doesn't mean that God failed us. A faith failure does not equate to God failing us. And there's certain things we just didn't understand. And it reminds me of the little baby that sees, the little kid that sees me plug something into the plug and thinks, has a screwdriver and says, okay, as a little kid does, to try to plug into it, not understanding, sometimes with our wisdom we have to get understanding. And so the Lord is wanting to recover His first love from us. And so to do that, we have to begin to proclaim our faith in the arenas that we have not understood. For some of you, it may mean backtracking and going back to your greatest failures and declaring unto the Lord, Lord, I understand, but you're still faithful. And reclaim that ground, because you made a decision on those faith failures. And that decision was, what do you make in the face of any faith failure? When you put your faith in someone and they break your heart and they betray you, do you give that much of yourself again? No. But God's saying, go back there and declare unto me that you trust me. I may not understand what happened, God, but you're still faithful. And you go back to those places that have been, for some of you, perhaps your greatest faith failures, and say unto Him, Lord, I don't understand, but I'm not going to lean into my own understanding. I'm going to acknowledge you in all my ways. And Lord, I trust you. And see, your faith is an act of your will. It is a choice. And so you recoup that ground there and find God as you allow Him to reconcile that love that you first had, but that you lost. So until the next time, This is the green pastor declaring unto you that this is your time, because this is your season, because the kingdom of God is here now.